Hey guys, Time Itself here, and I've got something different for you today. This is Guild Wars. Now, I don't want to get into the complexities of this game because there is quite the learning curve. What I do want to do is give some examples of teamwork and communication in a game that's not an FPS. So, if that sounds interesting, stick around, but I do need to get through a few of the basics so you have an idea of what's going on so the rest of it makes sense. This particular game mode is Alliance Battles. The closest example I can give you guys that you can recognize is Conquest from Battlefield. There are 2 teams, each with 3 squads of 4 members each, fighting to control points on the map. The objective is primarily control the points, but you also get some score for killing enemies. You can see the layout of the map and the control points in the middle on the right side there. And then you'll see there are 7 control points, and since there are only 3 teams on each side, one of the best strategies is just to keep moving and keep capturing points from the enemy team. As we step out of the teleporter here, we'll hop onto a control point, and you'll see it start to swing to my team's control. On the top left, you'll see the control meter, and it has 4 pips because there are 4 players standing on it. One of the things about this, the most pips you can have for capturing a point is 4. So there's no real point in having more than 4 people capturing a control point. As you may have already guessed, the red bars are health. You'll see my team on the lower right there, whoever I've got selected kind of in the middle, slightly towards the bottom, and then on the very bottom, the red bar is my health, the blue bar is my energy, and then the 8 little boxes below that are my skills. This is a fairly typical RPG kind of thing. You got professions, and then attributes from the professions, and you put attribute points to go towards those, and then you select skills for the attributes. Anyway, long story, there are a ton of skills, something 2,000 plus, and you only get to pick 8. Now there are simple things like hit someone for damage. You also just got basic attacks, but the really powerful stuff, the really lets you get work done, is all about conditionality. You only get the full effect if something happens, and so when you only have 8 skills and you need these conditions to set up, there needs to be a lot of coordination between both what you set up for yourself, but also within your team. So what's the particular here? What's the exact strategy? Well, as you may have noticed, when you take a shrine, a control point, NPCs, non-player characters, come up on it to defend it. And if you're attacking one, you have to clear them off, but they're fairly predictable. And so we have a very good way of dealing with them. See that skill number 4 down there? That is a little sucker called Mark of Pain. It does no damage directly. Instead, whenever the target you put it on takes damage, enemies immediately next to that take a lot of unblockable damage. So let's talk about all the conditions there. First, I have to get the hex on the guy, and then the enemies that I want to do damage to have to be standing right next to him. And then the guy with the hex on has to start taking physical damage, and lots of it soon, because the AI will scatter when they realize they're taking area of effect damage. So my teammates know that when they go in, they just start wailing on the guy, and everything else on that shrine is going to die. But it's not very effective if they go for anything else. So how do we coordinate that? Well, the game provides a fairly useful feature in-game that I can specifically put into the chat. I am putting this hex on this guy, and you'll also see the little tab pop up next to my name in the party menu, and then they can all hotkey onto that guy. So here we go. Mark the guy, call him out, and then put him on him, and then the assassins go in and start wailing on the guy with daggers, and things end pretty quickly. The yellow numbers are damage I'm responsible for. I like yellow numbers. So when things go right, I'm a major source of damage for this team, but I'm really a support character. On my own, I can't do much of anything. Barely any damage output, but I do have some other things that let me support the team and fall into the same attribute as that Mark of Pain skill that we're relying on for the most part. But instead of speccing into skills and attributes to just try to do more damage, instead I specialize further to try to make sure that what we are doing is going to be effective. So you'll see I'll do things like remove enchantments from enemies, punish them if they're blocking, because if they're blocking, the physical damage doesn't do anything. That's very bad. So I'm fairly specialized here, and so are the other members of my team. Similar story for the monk. Everybody could be carrying self-heals and whatnot, but it's actually more effective to let one player spec heavily into being able to heal the rest of the members of the party. He can take more specialized healing or defensive skills instead of just a general give me X plus X amount of health. So there's conditionality there, so those can be stronger, but he can cover more of the bases so that we don't end up in trouble. So again, very limited number of skills, letting players specialize and then trying to work together as a team to use each other's strengths is really, it's the way to win this. But it is still possible to run into a fight that you cannot win. I mean, not just because the players are better, just because they're using different skills, and you don't have a way to stop them. In that case, here especially, you just run away. It's not normally the case, but the control points are more important than trying to kill people, so if you can't win the fight quickly, we just keep running. We do see a surprising number of people running around trying to solo cap shrines. It's entirely doable, a bit risky. The thing becomes that they're very tempting targets for teams to pick off as easy kills, and that means you've still got a group of 3 running around who's short a guy if they ever get into a real fight. Anyway, let's move on to a few basic examples of team communication. For example, these crazy people have decided they want to try to fight us. My responsibility here is to remove his enchantments, that little yellow triangle next to his name, and if my team calls out that he's blocking
on the parrot.
Yeah.
To go ahead and use that skill number 3, that will deal massive damage if he blocks while he's hexed with it.
Yeah, it went away pretty fast. We need to get down to Ranger.
Sometimes it's just a friendly reminder about what the plan is. Against melee, we have to bunch up so that they bunch up, so the AoE damage does its job.
Alright, make sure the warriors mob up.
Like sometimes small changes can make quite the difference, and while this often doesn't seem like a good idea to start with, it works out, especially against the AI, who we are well prepared for. But above all, what we're doing is making sure we're on the same page, know about any important things going on, and are all headed in the same direction.
Let's head back to Necros.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, what would voice chat be without plenty of laughter and enjoying ourselves?
Come here, bitch!
I'm gonna get him if I can. And I can.
Yeah! Body block!
I think that'll do for now. It's been several months since I played. I'm rather out of practice. I was never that great to start with, though it is a lot of fun, even if the learning curve is very, very steep. I've left so much out. There's so much more in terms of game mechanics, strategy, and then the different callouts that those strategies involve. Things like spiking down a target can become very important. But I figured this was a good place to start, just so you guys were probably mostly used to FPS games, some teamwork in a different game, in a very different setting. So I doubt I will be posting any more Guild Wars, but I thought this was something different, maybe interesting, that you guys might enjoy. Let me know how I did. Otherwise, I think we'll return to the normal FPS videos after this.